Welcome to episode one of the talent series here with Shri and with Adam Rose. Adam and I, of course, have been in the CPG industry quite a while, and he's a prolific recruiter who runs his own e-commerce placement company agency, call it what you may. But I've known him for a while, and he finds candidates from all over the country, places them in amazing e-commerce jobs, and I couldn't have found a better partner for me in this journey as we talk about talent. So we're going to go through two different episodes here. We're going to talk today about just CPG talent in 2020, and then we will hopefully be putting out a bunch more for you guys in the upcoming weeks. But Adam, why don't I turn it over to you to introduce yourself as the owner of the startup e-commerce placement company that you started a few years ago based out of the New York City, greater New York City area.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it. Great to chat with you. And this is our 10th year in business now, and we specialize in e-commerce recruiting. We work with a lot of different online retailers, internet companies in the e-commerce space, digital agencies, and we're recruiting across the full spectrum of e-commerce roles. So everything from leadership, strategy and management, digital marketing across all channels, site merchandising, web analytics, operations, logistics and fulfillment, creative, technology, the entire gamut there. And we have done a ton of recruitment in every industry you can imagine. CPG, yes, fashion, apparel, consumer electronics, food and beverage, really touched upon everything, which is my favorite aspect of e-commerce, is that it's so applicable across so many different areas and you get involved in so many different opportunities, and every day is different from the last.
Isn't that amazing how different an e-commerce role, no matter what function you settle in, is so different from your traditional CPG role where you're basically a function?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you think selling a widget is selling a widget, but it's not. There are different nuances to everything that you do. And you can apply your previous experience to these roles and make it your own. They're very entrepreneurial opportunities, no matter what industry you're in.
Well, congratulations first on 10 years. And Adam did something
Thank you.
I think is very honorable, very ethical, and amazing considering the times we are in the middle of the COVID pandemic here in May 2020, which is he volunteered his services to over 300 people, got them on a spreadsheet and put them out there for other recruiters and companies to find. So Adam, today, this would be incomplete if I didn't say thank you on that.
Oh, I appreciate it. You know, I said originally we were trying to think of ways that we can help, and we saw all these amazing companies that were doing these incredible things. They were shifting their production to making masks or ventilators or hospital beds. We can't do that. We're not the type of company that can do that. But what we do have is a huge network of e-commerce professionals out there that we could tap into and utilize, so that if somebody was laid off, if they were furloughed, if they had offers rescinded during this time, that we can help them. And at no cost to us, we're not charging anyone for this. We just want to get these people back to work. So we did create a spreadsheet. We have about 400 people on there now. It's growing, even though we're taking people off, which is great because they're finding opportunities from being on the spreadsheet. It is still growing. But yeah, it's freely available for anybody that's hiring to take a look at, see if there's anybody that might fit any of the open positions that they have, and we're just getting conversations started that way.
Yeah, to every e-commerce professional who actually sees this video cast, reads the article, sees the LinkedIn post, guys, better LinkedIn with this guy, Adam Rose. You can actually see him right here below, and this is the profile that you need to actually connect with. Again, prolific recruiter. Thank you so much, Adam, for what you're doing for the industry. And why don't we get started here? This is CPG Talent 2020. So the
sounds great.
Comes to my mind, and I'm sure people want to know, is what does this word even mean? Like, what comes to your mind, Adam, when you hear this word like CPG Talent 2020?
So when we first started, many years ago now, the CPG industry was nowhere to be found as far as e-commerce is concerned. They came much later to the game and started playing catch up. So for the past few years, it's been really interesting for us. These are a lot of the clients that we're working with. They're in CPG, they're figuring it out across marketplaces, across retailer websites, across even their own direct-to-consumer websites. So really investing heavily in it, in omni-channel and mobile applications, everything. So there is a ton of opportunity right now in e-commerce when we're talking about CPGs in 2020 and beyond. So if you're an e-commerce professional and you're considering making your move maybe from retail, fashion, and you want to be in an industry that's high growth or in demand right now, CPG is where I really think you need to look. And that's across beauty, pharmaceutical, food and beverage, you name it right now.
So CPG and e-commerce obviously late in the game. Good news,
Yeah.
intersected now, and if anything, this pandemic is actually making it even more profound. But when you say CPG and e-commerce are starting to intersect now, what comes to your mind as like attributes of that perfect talent in 2024, these sort of roles?
Yeah, so I think it's the same really across any industry when we're talking about e-commerce talent and what companies are looking for. There are three things that come to mind. And one is having a very entrepreneurial mindset. You need to understand the business as an e-commerce professional because no matter what role you're in, you need to understand how your role comes into play across the organization. It is crucial that you understand e-commerce strategy, that you understand business strategy, that you, if you haven't been involved in managing a P&L, that's something that a skill that you definitely should pick up at some point, because this is the skill set that companies are going to look for as you continue to grow in your career in e-commerce and grow into a management position or a leadership role within an organization. Somewhat related, number two is your role is going to be highly cross-functional. Almost every e-commerce position, it doesn't matter what functional area you're in, you're going to be working with tons of different members of the team across the board. So if you're a marketer, you're going to be working with merchandising and operations and customer experience, fulfillment and pricing and promotions. So you need to make sure that you are very comfortable working in a team environment and really can work well in a project management capacity, because that's what a lot of e-commerce is. It's managing projects, it's pushing it out, it's helping the team get to that next level. And then three is analytics. No matter what role you're in, analytics is huge. We're talking about sales reporting and profitability analyses and web traffic and conversion data, web analytics using Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics or any platform like that. It's going to be crucial. A/B testing, crucial. So no matter what role you're in, you need to develop that analytical mindset and skill set to help you take your career to the next level.
Three things I heard from you, Adam, which is obviously a big one, is entrepreneurial mindset, without which I think everything else is kind of negative. And if you don't have that, you're not going to succeed in e-commerce, period. Right? And then you talked about cross-functional, because you're going to touch so many functions that you're not from, such as supply chain, maybe marketing, things of that nature. And third,
That's right.
personally have experienced deeply on this journey of e-commerce leadership. I had to dig deep into my earlier CPG career years back at IRI, like over 2 decades ago, when I was actually going into the analyzer system and pulling data and reports. And I had to do so much of that even as a leader in e-commerce. But if I flip the lens here and I wore the lens of a human resources professional from a company looking for a candidate, would I agree with you that it's the exact same things, or are there more things in the mix?
So those three things are the pillars, right? I think those are the three pillars of what would make you a very successful e-commerce candidate. But what companies are looking for, what internal recruiters or hiring managers are looking for, it's very role dependent too. They want somebody that can come in and hit the ground running. So what you want to do is make sure that you are conveying how your experience relates to the position that they're hiring for. And that's in your resume, that's in your LinkedIn profile, that's in your actual interview itself. You want them to feel comfortable that you've handled these responsibilities before. And if you haven't, that you potentially could, right? So you want to talk about how you could come in and hit the ground running with a little bit of training, and how your skill set is somewhat applicable to what they're looking for. But again, they're looking for the right fit there. So you want to position yourself to be that right fit. And even in your career, if you want to grow as an e-commerce professional and you're not necessarily looking right now, continue to take a look at job postings that are out there, and you can see what companies are looking for. And if you're missing certain skill sets and roles that you think you might be interested in the future, take a look at that and start developing that skill set now. A big part of being an e-commerce leader is that you're constantly growing, both personally and professionally. So it's good to continue to do that, even in times where you're not necessarily looking for a new job.
Great to hear you. Great to actually hear you say that, because I think a lot of people don't leverage LinkedIn to do this continuous improvement and just being out there and like looking for roles, even if they're not looking for a change, just to stay abreast of what's going on.
Yeah.
You just mentioned skill sets and what people look for, you know, the three important pillars, and then the experience being another one, things of that nature. But, you know, I do have a question related, somewhat related to that. Let's say you're in supply chain, you're in finance, or you're in another function that's not necessarily a pure 100% e-commerce role. Does any function and role need this sort of a digital e-commerce backing and a grounding these days? Like, do you have to have basic knowledge of what is Amazon, how does one sell there?
Yeah.
Nature?
I think so, because the channels are all merging at this point. You don't just have a pure .com business. You don't have a pure retail brick and mortar business. You have these channels that are merging into one, and you need a very holistic omni-channel strategy. So without that background, and knowledge, it's hard to create a long-term vision for the organization. It's hard to create strategic plans and roadmaps. You really need to have that digital grounding there.
As you heard it here from Adam himself, digital grounding must have in 2020. I would say non-negotiable with Adam. You know, so please use this downtime from your commute times that you're saving, upskill in whatever way you can, so that you can be part of this digital revolution for retail and CPG.
For sure. And Shri, one thing I want to mention too, I get a lot of people that ask me, how do I make that transition from a more retail focused role to an e-commerce position? And I take a look at their resume, and they don't have anything in there in regards to Google Analytics. And that is, no matter what you're doing, if you have a more robust platform, you're still using Google Analytics for something, trust me. You can get certified in Google Analytics online through Google for free. Take that time, do it. You may not have access to a more robust platform, but you have access to Google Analytics at home. Great for you to be able to talk about that in your interviews, great for you to have as a skill set, great for you to have on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile. That will help set you apart from other candidates coming from retail that don't have that type of experience.
It is insanely uncanny that you actually picked Google Analytics, because do you want to guess what I spent the last 48 hours doing over here?
Oh, it was Google Analytics.
Google Analytics, hacking SEO keywords for our startup Zenfuel, and
yeah, there you go.
Linked back to social media posts for the right hashtags and things of that nature.
Yeah, AdWords, I mean, you name it. I think it is an amazing resource for people that especially don't have an e-commerce background. So if you want to gain this experience without having to do anything crazy where you're taking on jobs and not getting paid, you can go on Google in your free time and start taking a look at analytics and AdWords and as much as you possibly can.
And that's why Adam's here having this conversation with me, because he just finds the hacks. So thank you for actually pointing that one out. I think it's profound. So here's what I would call like a trick one or a soft skill one. You know, traditionally, I haven't changed too many companies in my career. You know, when I first started working for IRI, I thought I'd never leave. I ended up at PepsiCo, then Johnson & Johnson, then Revlon. But relatively, if I look at other people's resumes, it's few. But I've always been told, coached, etc., that because I've been to senior roles, that appearance is everything. When I went in for that first in-person interview with HR, it's video these days, it's Zoom like you and I. What role does appearance play?
So it's interesting. When I first started in recruitment, which is forever ago, I've only actually done recruiting out of college. It's insane. It's all I know how to do. But when I first started, appearance did mean a lot.
That's all he knows how to do, he says.
It's all I know.
Man knows e-commerce inside out.
You could ask my wife. It's all I know how to do. But when I first started out, appearances did play a big part, and that was a check in the checkbox that recruiters or hiring managers would think about when they were evaluating candidates. And you don't see that as much anymore, which you see what I'm wearing. I feel happy about that. What's most important
Dressed up for Adam today, by the way.
What's most important is the person, their skill set, what they can bring to the table. E-commerce in general right now, it's new. It's a very startup-like environment. It's very technology-based. You don't have a lot of e-commerce teams that are suit and tie. Actually, I don't know one off the bat that's suit and tie. You may have a broader organization where the e-commerce team sits that has a suit and tie culture, but not the e-commerce team itself. Usually it's jeans, it's button downs, it's not a suit of any kind. So that's just been the culture of e-commerce really across the country. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. If anything, I see it relaxing even more. Companies are going to have a very hard time acquiring and retaining e-commerce talent in the near future. Once everything gets back to normal, everybody's going to be investing in e-commerce and omnichannel. They're going to be going through that digital transformation that they've been putting off or hasn't been going as fast as they think it should be. So companies are going to need to think of ways that they can add benefit to these candidates, that they can do things that'll make their roles more attractive, because there's going to be a small talent pool that everybody's going after. I think there are a few things off the bat that they're going to have to consider, and one of those is certainly dress code. I mean, there's no reason anyone needs to have a more upscale dress attire for these e-commerce roles. It just doesn't make sense. But even more importantly, I think, is we get people every day asking us if we have remote positions. It's I think the most in-demand ask from e-commerce candidates right now. E-commerce is another environment that you don't necessarily need to be in the office every day, because it's so technology based, because everybody has the ability to work on these platforms at home. They have the ability to collaborate digitally with their entire team from home. You have Slack, you have Zoom, you have all different resources available to you. The mindset from these candidates is, I don't need to make this commute to the office. I don't need to buy work clothes. That's going to save me a ton of money. I don't need to commute. That's going to save me a lot of time and money. I can do this remotely. And guess what? I'm doing it right now. You can see for yourself that this is working. So I think once everybody is back to normal, once things are back to normal, you're going to start seeing a lot more companies try to be more competitive in attracting e-commerce talent outside of e-commerce too, but we're just talking about e-commerce talent here. And I think that remote is going to be a game changer. The companies that offer their positions remote are going to be tough to compete against.
More profound words from my friend here, Adam. Thank you for that. I've always felt scale CPG companies, which are primarily in the B2B space, selling to a retailer, is their customers are actually not consumers and retailers, and the measurement metric of success is ship quantity to a retailer warehouse. They've always been semi-formal or tend to err more on the side of formal. Your consumer is the shopper and the customer. They're all built into one. I'm pretty sure the customer who's a consumer and a shopper could care less if you wore Nike Air Maxes or Adidas to work, and that might.
No, even if they could see you, I don't think they would care.
I couldn't agree more. So I do understand the difference and respect those in B2B positions, but e-commerce is not in that position. The role of an e-commerce associate is to influence, at the end of the day, the connection with the consumer, which is a marked change. So big, profound words, my friend. So let's flip it now more to the side of actually looking for candidates. So when you get a resume or bio that comes your way from a candidate, what do your eyes hunt for? You're one of the best here in the e-commerce space. Like, what does your eyes see immediately or look for?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you, first off. And it's true. You see all these articles and studies saying that hiring managers and recruiters only have like 3 to 5 seconds to look at your resume. It's true. We get pounded with resumes all day, every day. If we were to give 2-3 minutes to a single resume every time we look at one, we would get nothing done. That would take our entire day. So it's true that you need to have a resume that stands out. And what's most important, I think, is right at the top. That's what catches your eye. Is right at the top, you have an objective statement right there that should tell the reader exactly what you do and why you'd be a good fit for the position. Just in a
Is
single,
that like your LinkedIn headline?
yeah, very similar to a LinkedIn headline. I think LinkedIn doesn't give you as much room as you could do on a resume. On a resume, you could do like 3 or 4 sentences right there, but LinkedIn maybe 1 or 2. But yeah, the point is the same. This is what somebody sees right away, and you don't want them to have any question in their mind that you're potentially a good fit for the position, and that will get them to read more.
Do you
And
advise like paragraph and statements, or do you advise like bullet points?
Good question. So both, actually. So you have an objective statement, which is sentences. That'll be a paragraph. Then right under there, I'm actually a big fan of bullet points skill set, whether it be competencies, technical or soft skills. But yeah, having a list of bullet points right under the objective statement, and then go into your experience.
So sometimes, Adam, assuming the resume is a good one, sometimes I hear in the industry that cover letters still exist. Are they dead? Do they exist? Like, does
No, they are completely dead, in my opinion. So we
completely dead.
yeah, I'm telling you, we barely have time to read resumes. Nobody has time to read cover letters. And I feel bad for the people that really put time and effort into these cover letters. Certainly appreciated. But in my experience and personal opinion, you can put that same information into your resume, whether it's in that objective statement or the bullet points of your skill set or your experience. It can all be baked in there. And if you do it correctly, you do not need a cover letter. I will tell you, you do need a LinkedIn profile. We have some candidates that don't have a LinkedIn profile, and you'd be surprised.
I can't believe in 2020 you have
Yes,
that
and
don't
you
have a LinkedIn
and
profile.
you'd be surprised at the reaction that we get, or you may not be surprised at the reaction we get from hiring managers saying, "Why? That makes no sense. Why do they not have a LinkedIn profile?" And they think it's a red flag at this point, which is that's
You know,
how.
Adam, that one is an interesting to me because I've come across tons of marketers in the industry who actually don't have Instagram or Facebook or other
Yeah.
social media accounts, and they claim to be some of the best marketers and they have success. In reality, they use agencies and get the awards that they do
Yeah.
as amazing marketers. But to me, not having a LinkedIn profile and being a corporate employee in a role today is the same as a marketer not having an Instagram account these days. It's just
No, I completely agree. And
fundamental disservice.
this is what a recruiter or hiring manager does. They look at your resume. If it looks like a good resume, they go to your LinkedIn profile. It doesn't matter if you list your LinkedIn profile URL on your resume, they're still going to find you. They're going to search for you on LinkedIn, take a look at your LinkedIn profile, make sure it matches what they see on their resume, but they also go there to look for additional information that they're not seeing on your resume. So
Let's
that
jump
might
into
be,
that, Adam. Let's
yeah,
just jump into LinkedIn. So what are they
yeah.
for on LinkedIn?
So depending on your position, this may or may not be important, but branding, they're going to take a look at how you brand yourself. If you're a marketer, you have marketing responsibilities or something similar, they're going to want to make sure that you actually have that skill set across social media accounts. So they'll take a look at your branding. They'll take a look at references, for example, who recommended you on your LinkedIn profile. They will take a look at your skill set that's listed on there that might be in a different layout or format or just different information than what's on your resume. You may have a portfolio link on your LinkedIn profile that maybe you didn't include in your resume. They'll take a look at that. They'll take a look at articles that you've posted. Depending on how deep they're stalking you, they're looking at what you've been commenting on.
Can we pause on articles for a second?
Yeah.
So a lot of people I find hesitate to actually author an article because you have to actually author it and put it out there. Otherwise it's plagiarism, which I hope no one does.
Right.
What's your general advice on articles? Like put one out once a quarter, once a month, like when you're looking for a role, it's probably too late in the game to write like 10 articles and put it out there. General advice on that. I found they do take time, but I enjoy doing them, but then I don't
Yeah.
qualify everyone as our headspace may not be the same. So what do you advise on articles?
Yeah. So I think in writing articles, you have a few different avenues. You have a few different reasons for writing these articles, right? One is that you want to make everyone aware that you're a thought leader in the space, that you have a deep knowledge in what you're talking about, that you're the go-to person if somebody has questions about, I don't know, advertising on Amazon, right? And you're writing articles quite frequently on the topic, and somebody has a question, somebody has a consulting need or a full-time job that they think you might be a good fit for. They'll think, hey, I saw Shri writing about Amazon advertising, and he's going to be the first person that I reach out to once I have an opportunity for him. So you have there's a deep knowledge aspect to writing these articles, and then there's just the visibility itself, which is related, right? So you're putting yourself out there. You're developing a network of people that share an interest in you, with you in this topic, and you start to build a network around that, and colleagues that you respect and collaborate with, just like we're doing here today. And all of this helps you in branding yourself for the future and landing roles that you may want to attain in the future, even if you're not looking right now.
Oh, what about recommendations, Adam?
So there are two different types of recommendations. There's the actual recommendation where people will write you a paragraph or two and have that included in your profile. Like, Shri was great to work with, and I would certainly recommend him for another position, and all that jazz, which is, I think, most important.
These are
That's
the
really
short,
helpful.
sweet paragraphs, right?
Short and sweet. And prospective employers will take a look at that, and they'll see who's recommending you and what their title is, what company they're at currently, and seeing if it's relevant. And that may be before they even select you for an interview. So this is
Wow.
very,
Wow.
this is very, very important. Anything that you have
That's
out there
what I mean
is
by
fair
the
game.
spam as the hacks.
Yeah, right. So, and then there are endorsements, which I think are meaningless. I have no idea why LinkedIn has this endorsement feature. I get endorsed by people that I have never talked to before in my life. It makes no sense. So
I assume the endorsements piece is irrelevant and the focus is recommendation.
Yeah, so the endorsements, for those that don't know what it is, you can put on your profile that you have a skill set in SEO, for example, and people can endorse you for that skill. But anyone can endorse you. There's no, they don't allow for you to give a written response into what this person may know about SEO. It's quite meaningless. But recommendations, on the other hand, it's much meatier.
Wow, sounds like gold to me. So again, let's jump to the next piece of this. So you got an amazing LinkedIn profile, the HR recruiter talks to Adam and they say, hey, I love this candidate. I want to talk to them. I found that in 2020, the first step is always going to be a phone screening. And here you are nowadays, you're having to do this from home. COVID is teaching us all a lesson on how to work remotely, talk remotely, etc. But how does a candidate get prepared and be motivated for a phone screening, especially when it's not video and you're not going to see each other?
Yes, a phone interview is almost always the first step in the process. It's just quick and easy. You don't have to dress up for it. You don't have to be ready visually like you are in a video interview. So the phone interview, even now, I think it's still the first step in the process. And interviewing is a skill, just like any other skill, that you need to practice to develop. It's like a muscle. It's like going to the gym and exercising your muscle to get it to the point where you want it to be. And with repetition, you get better and better, right? So my advice is always to practice. And that's with yourself. You can go on Zoom right now and do a video call just looking at yourself, which is extremely helpful in practicing for a phone interview, actually, because I find the most successful phone interviews are when the candidate is smiling. You can actually hear their smile on the phone, even though you can't
Wow.
see them.
Wow.
Yes, so their personality is
Making me
coming through
smile
on the
now.
phone. Yes, so even if you don't think the person can see it, my advice is still smile on the phone, act as you normally would in a video or in person, because that will come through on the phone. I guarantee you, it'll come through in the inflection in your voice, in your enthusiasm for the position or what you're talking about. And you want that personality to show on the phone. We talk about soft skills and how cross-functional e-commerce teams are and how much teamwork is involved and how you're going to be interacting with so many people. This is why soft skills are so important in e-commerce. And if you're not able to demonstrate that on the initial phone call, on the initial phone interview, you're in trouble. It doesn't matter how good your educational experience is. It doesn't matter how good your work experience is and even how relevant it is. If you don't come across as somebody that they feel like would be a good fit culture-wise on the team. And a lot of that is, I think, your personality and whether or not it's able to come through or not. So you get one shot in the initial phone interview. And if you practice this, I think you'll be okay.
You heard it here, folks, from Adam. One shot. So obviously you want to practice. I'm pretty sure Adam would agree with me. A lot of people don't put the energy and attention required into doing that practice, especially using Zoom, looking at your stuff, a self-reflection of your stuff. And you said a key word, Adam, that I personally probably need to imbibe in my DNA and practice a whole lot more, which is smile. And Adam made me smile, but I will not today. So
You won't
Adam,
forget now. You won't forget to do it.
no, I will remember for the rest of my life. So we talked LinkedIn. We talked about how good the bio needs to be on LinkedIn. We talked about what your eyes would automatically catch in a bio or a resume that's sent to you. We talked a little bit about phone screening and how to motivate oneself. Assuming you do all of this and the HR recruiter, you've now passed this on, it's highly recommended candidate. What advice would you give to that candidates who want to be in that situation as the dream talent in e-commerce in 2020 in front of HR? Like, what are the few attributes or characteristics you would say, and what's your advice for them?
Right. So you passed the phone interview, you passed the resume test, and everything looks great. So you're going to want to understand the role that you're applying for the best that you possibly can. Ask questions. We get a lot. You'd be surprised how many people go through the interview process and they don't even ask any questions. And that's a big red flag to hiring managers. They want people that are inquisitive, that want to understand the business, that can really understand what they would be getting themselves into in this role. And they want to make sure that they believe it's the right fit for them and that they can convey why this would be a good next step in their career and where they want to be. So advice to you is always ask questions. If there's always a point in the interview where the interviewer is like, okay, do you have any questions? Do not say no. Ask something. Think about it throughout the interview. Listen carefully to what they're saying. That's an opportunity for you to really show your ability to grasp the role itself and what the company is doing and how you can play a part in it. So I think that's one thing. Two, everything we've talked about, the three pillars as I see it, understanding the business, understanding the need to build out e-commerce strategy and execute on that. So having a really good understanding of what the entire business does and how your role fits into it. The cross-functional nature, like we discussed, analytics, as we discussed, and also never-ending learning. So you want to let them know that you're the type of person that is constantly looking to better themselves, whether it's personally, professionally. This is what I think the e-commerce talent of the future looks like. This is the profile right here. And that's what you want to convey to the person that's interviewing you.
That is amazing, Adam. So folks, you heard a lot of great advice here from Adam, all the way from LinkedIn to pillars that one needs to focus on, how you motivate yourself for the actual phone screening, what happens in video interviews these days. And Adam, I want to again personally thank you, not just on behalf of myself, but candidates who will hopefully read this article over here, will see the video over here, and please get in touch with this guy. This is his profile link at the bottom. check out the article we will put out on this together coming shortly. The URL is here at the bottom. And stay connected with Adam. He may not guarantee you, but I will guarantee you on his behalf. You get in touch with this guy and he will hack into a role for you that's the right fit in the right organization that works for them. So we will catch you back next week, where we're actually going to take on a slightly different topic, which is wearing the lens of a hiring manager or human resources in CPG. Thank you and see you soon.
Thank you very much.